Have you ever wondered about the kind of traditions people followed throughout history that might seem utterly bizarre today? Picture yourself in a time and place where customs revolved around ideas, beliefs, and rituals completely alien to our modern sensibilities. Let's journey into the past to uncover some of the most unbelievable traditions that shaped communities, defined cultures, and left lasting marks on the pages of history. Our first stop takes us to ancient Egypt, where the pharaohs reigned supreme, and their elaborate ceremonies often centered on their preparation for the afterlife. Egyptians believed in an eternal journey after death, and central to this belief was the process of mummification. But before a pharaoh could be mummified, there was a rather surprising pre-ritual. The pharaoh's body was initially painted in a sacred color. Sometimes we find the deep blue reminiscent of the Nile or rich gold to invoke the power of the sun god, Ra. Each color and material held a significant meaning, a belief that this would endow the deceased ruler with the powers needed in the afterlife. Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean Sea, the Spartans practiced a tradition that might raise eyebrows today. Known for their military prowess, Spartan society involved their young boys undergoing the harsh practice of agoge. This wasn't just a form of education. It was a rigorous regime designed to create elite warriors. At the tender age of 7, boys were taken from their families to live in communal dormitories, subjected to severe physical training, and taught to endure hardship with little food or clothing. This was not only to instill discipline and resilience, but also to cultivate a sense of camaraderie and toughness that defined the Spartan warrior ethos. Continuing our quest through history, we arrive in medieval Europe, where you might stumble upon the people in various parts of Europe, such as Germany and France, spontaneously dancing uncontrollably, often until they collapsed from exhaustion. The cause remains a mystery. Some suggest it was a reaction to the stresses of life during plague years. Others argue it might have been a case of mass psychogenic illness or ergot poisoning, caused by a hallucinogenic fungus growing on wheat. Whatever the cause, these outbreaks were a social phenomenon that baffled chroniclers of the time and continues to intrigue historians today. Venturing to medieval Japan, you'd encounter a quite different but equally strange practice. Samurai warriors, known for their code of honor and martial prowess, sometimes engaged in the ritual of seppuku, or self-disembowelment, as a means of restoring personal or family honor. Stemming from the equally severe Bushido code, this act wasn't considered bizarre by contemporary Japanese standards. Instead, it was a highly respected means of displaying courage and loyalty. However, to the modern observer, the notion of voluntary death by such a painful method is hard to fathom. Crossing over to the African continent, let's explore an intriguing practice of the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania, spitting as a form of greeting. Unlike the negative connotation spitting carries in many cultures, among the Maasai it is a demonstration of friendship, respect, and luck. For instance, a father might spit on a newborn to bless them, or two friends might spit on each other's hands to seal a deal or say goodbye. Embedded within this tradition is a deep cultural significance and kinship that emphasizes connection and respect. Switching gears to ancient China, we find a tradition that strikes many as curious: the art of foot binding, a practice that began during the Song dynasty and continued for a millennium. This custom involved tightly wrapping young girls' feet to prevent growth, creating tiny lotus feet that were considered highly desirable. Although a symbol of beauty and status, it resulted in severe pain and lifelong disabilities. The history behind foot binding reveals much about societal standards and the extreme lengths to which people went in the pursuit of beauty and social standing. Transcending continents and eras, let us consider the ancient Roman festival of Saturnalia, celebrated in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture. This winter festival was marked by a reversal of social roles. Slaves were treated to banquets served by their masters, and traditional norms were turned on their heads in a flurry of revelry and merrymaking. It was a time of liberation from the hierarchical constraints of Roman society, if only temporarily, offering us an insight into the social dynamics and cultural expressions of ancient Rome. As we drift into the Americas, the Incas of Peru bring us the ceremonial practice of capacacha, a sacrificial rite typically involving children. Contrary to the harrowing image it might evoke today, these young ones were chosen for their perceived purity and were believed to become immortal guardians after death. The sacrifice was a solemn honor and is thought to have been conducted in times of drought or societal trouble to appease the gods. Archaeological discoveries of these mummified children continue to provide a haunting glimpse into this ancient civilization's spiritual life. In an even more distant cultural tradition, the Inuit people of the Arctic adapted their way of life to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Among their rites was the custom of naming newborns after deceased relatives, believed to transfer the spirit and positive qualities of the namesake to the child. This practice, known as soul conception, underscored a belief in the interconnectedness of generations and showcased the depth of Inuit spiritual beliefs and kinship. Traveling back to Europe, the Vikings left their mark with their distinctive tradition of the Viking funeral. Although popular media often sensationalizes this as a blaze of fire on a drakkar, historical evidence suggests that such pyres were more often built on land. The elaborate funerary rites included grave goods like weapons and clothing to accompany the deceased into the afterlife, dwelling into the Vikings' understanding of mortality and their respect for warriors. This tradition illustrates the Viking worldview, where the afterlife was a continuation of earthly existence, wherein warriors aspired to reach Valhalla. On a lighter note, let's return to England during the reign of Elizabeth I, where a peculiar custom known as clipping the church took place. This involved congregants holding hands and encircling the church building. Considered an expression of community love and unity, it was a cheerful event held on Easter Monday or Shrove Tuesday, capturing the communal spirit that characterized Elizabethan religious life. Each of these traditions illuminates an aspect of human history that demonstrates the diversity and complexity of cultural practices. They tell stories of how societies have sought to make sense of the world, communicate values, and establish social bonds. From rituals that guided the deceased to their next lives to those that strengthened community ties, every tradition offers a window into the philosophical, spiritual, and practical concerns of its time. Let us not forget the intriguing custom observed by the Native American tribes of the Pacific Northwest, such as the Tlingit and Haida, the potlatch. This was more than just a feast. It was an event of redistribution, where wealth was shared and social status conveyed through giving. Chiefs and other high-status individuals would host gatherings, bestowing gifts upon their guests, thus accruing honor and prestige. The potlatch was so integral to societal workings that it threatened European colonial powers' governance, leading to its ban until the mid-20th century. Similarly, let's delve into the ancient Maya civilization. Inspired by their religious texts and beliefs, their rulers practiced bloodletting, a sacred act viewed as a means to communicate with the gods. Using tools made of obsidian or stingray spines, Maya leadership engaged in this blood sacrifice to secure agricultural abundance and divine favor. This tradition wasn't merely a personal endeavor but often performed in public, symbolizing the ruler's commitment to the welfare of their people and playing a central role in reinforcing their divine mandate. In the realm of the Middle Ages, a lesser-known tradition of trial by combat allowed accused parties to settle their innocence by engaging in a duel. This was not purely about physical prowess. It was rooted in the belief that divine intervention would ensure the righteous would be victorious. Impressively, this custom endured in different forms into modern times, showcasing how ideas of justice and divine will interplayed throughout European history. Yet another surprise awaits in ancient Persian culture, where Zoroastrian funeral practices involved sky burials, or the placement of corpses atop towers of silence to be consumed by birds of prey. This intriguing ritual was an ecological solution rooted in religious doctrine, reflecting the Zoroastrian emphasis on the purity of earth, fire, and water, thus prohibiting human decay from polluting creation. The practice survives today among some Parsi communities in India. As we weave through these stories, it becomes increasingly evident how traditions are more than mere oddities of the past. They are complex expressions of culture, belief, and necessity that have informed human existence across eras. Even as times change and innovations emerge, these customs are pivotal in understanding how historical communities viewed the world, and indirectly, how they have paved the way for our present-day perceptions and values. Taboos and traditions are a human constant, reshaped by time yet persistently reflecting the societies they served. They encapsulate human creativity and adaptability, responding to the demands of environment, society, and imagination. So the next time you hear about an old custom or ritual, remember that it carries the echoes of our collective past, offering lessons and reflections that modern observers can learn from and appreciate. And that's why these bizarre traditions, as outlandish as they may seem, offer a captivating glimpse into the human psyche and the diverse ways in which we've historically explained and interacted with our world. Join us again on History Oddities for more fascinating stories from the past.